right? Okay. Because my channel, as I said, I cannot upload longer than 15 minutes. Let me set the timer. Okay. Set the timer. So what's up? It's Popescu Paul, as I said before. 15th of February 2024 is my time frame. You are probably from the future. If you're not like a very good friend that I'm showing this video to, maybe you're who I call Marco, maybe you're Mafaroso, maybe you're Highguard. These are my good internet friends, and these are their internet nicknames. I'm not gonna call you by your real name because this is a public video meant to be visible by the entire globe and all of the solar system and all the aliens that are secretly looking at YouTube through their machinery and stuff, and all the spirits that are secretly in their... Okay, whatever. What was I saying? Yeah. So, listen, if our conscious experiences, as I said before in the previous video, is the same in nature, every single person's conscious experience is the same in nature, only different in the contents, then that means what I observe, you should observe too the exact same thing once you pay attention. So one thing I observed, our consciousness, like previously, back when I was a little kid, and even in my teenager years, I was like terrified of the concept of dying and there being nothingness after death. I couldn't comprehend why like atheists and other people were not scared by it. That's because they were like the human brain. The human brain has its limitations, just like any other machine. And one of its limitations is that it cannot visualize four-dimensional space. No matter how you try it, no matter how you try to do it, it is absolutely physically impossible for the human brain to visualize something in 4 dimensions. Even if you call yourself smart, you're not visualizing 4D. You're visualizing 3D or 2D and associating it with something 4D to make yourself cleverly, like, you understand what I'm saying? You're trying to dodge it in some way that becomes useful and stuff. Like, for example, when we try to draw, what was it called? A T-Trex or a... what was it? Wait, let me Google it. It was something with T, wasn't it? 4D square is Tesseract. So if you Google Tesseract is like, you know, there's a square in 2D, in 2 dimensions. Then there's a cube in 3 dimensions. Then the shape that is the equivalent of this kind of pattern in 4 dimensions is called a tesseract. And if you Google tesseract, right now, you can see that it's kind of represented as these, like, as a cube inside a cube. It's represented in 3D, but you cannot represent something in 4D and 3D. These guys are just, and you're probably gonna look at it and be like, what the hell is this? How is this 4D? How is it? You cannot represent it. It's impossible. Like, when you represent something in 4D in an image, the image itself is 2D, but you're representing the 3D, and where our brains work in 3D and whatever. But you can probably understand what I'm trying to say. No matter how we try it, you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot in any way, shape, or form. 1 second, let me change my wallpaper because this is a good wallpaper, but it's a bit distracting. I have a wallpaper playlist on Workshop. Let's change it to this McLaren. It's a pretty cool car, and I think I'm gonna be rich soon, so I'm gonna buy supercars and stuff. Why not? But okay. Okay. What was I saying? Okay. We cannot imagine a tesseract. You cannot. It's a limitation of the human brain. And yeah. Wait, did I put the timer? I forgot. Yes, I set the timer. Okay, 9 minutes left for this video. Okay, nice. Okay. So this was one limitation. You cannot visualize anything in 4 dimensions. Another limitation of the human brain that people don't seem to be aware of, but I'm aware of, you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot conceive nothingness. Nothing. The concept of nothing does not exist in the human brain. Okay, think of an elephant, right? An elephant popped in your mind. You saw it, okay? Think of a water bottle. You can see a water bottle. Now think of nothing. What do you see? Your brain kind of glitched out and just kind of said nope. It just probably gave you the color black or something. We commonly, like, for some reason, associate nothingness with the color black. The color black is not nothing. It's a color. It's like a space that is black. Okay, try again. Black is the wrong answer. We'll try again. See nothing. You already saw white. Right? For me, like I saw white. The brain cannot do it. The brain cannot visualize nothing. The brain cannot conceive the concept of nothingness. The brain cannot. So like when atheists are not bothered by the concept of dying and nothingness being after death, they probably see nothingness as some sort of peace. But it's wrong. It's a subjective interpretation that has nothing to do with objectivity, has nothing to do with anything critical thinking related. It's just something imagined by the human brain as an error, because the human brain can only give you an error. It can only try to associate something with nothingness, but nothingness does not actually exist. The brain cannot see nothing. It's a limitation of the human mind. And maybe, in my opinion, it might be a limitation of the universe. Like, nothing might genuinely not exist and be impossible, this concept of nothing. I mean, us humans invented the concept of nothing, but we only invented the concept of nothing as something relative to something else. For example, I don't have a water bottle with me, but okay, I have this water with me. Relative to the system of this water bottle, right here is nothing. Right here is water, right here is nothing. Right? So in this context of this system, nothing means air. This air in there. Okay, let's say we do a vacuum. We extract all the air from this and it's just a vacuum. Just a thought experiment. Now here is nothing, or what is it? It's space. Space is not nothing. It's part of the universe. Like, Einstein said some weird things about relativity, time, and space. I'm not going to become complicated, but I'm not talking about nothingness as in physics. I'm talking about nothingness as of a human concept. Us humans invented the concept of nothing only relative to something else. I'm winging this. I'm talking out of my mind right now, so maybe what I'm saying is not structured. I have no script. I have no nothing. I just decided I'm going to talk in front of the camera to like defeat my fear of talking in front of the camera, and I don't really feel any fear anyway. But yeah. So what I've noticed about my conscious experiences is nothing doesn't really exist. My conscious experience is continuous, no matter the time elapsed. For example, there is actually a moment in our life that is actually like the closest thing to dying we ever experience, and that is when we sleep and we don't see any dream. What is that like for you? Isn't it like you go to bed, you don't remember exactly the moment when you fell asleep, but in an undetermined, vague amount of time, which kind of felt instant in some way, you're awake again, and your conscious experience is continuing. So like, the 8 or 7 hours when you were asleep and you saw no dream, they didn't really exist in your conscious experience. They didn't happen. They don't exist. That past doesn't exist. So like, it was the same thing also before you were born. You were not aware of that. So consciousness does not conceive nothingness. It always continues. And the thing about not remembering the Big Bang and not remember history before you were born, not remembering anything before you were born, is just a problem of memory. It doesn't actually say that you didn't have a conscious experience like before you were born, or like you didn't actually see. You might have actually seen the Big Bang, you just don't remember it. You might have actually seen like Napoleon take over Europe, but you don't remember it. You might have actually, like, it's a problem of memory. You're like, just because you don't remember something doesn't mean it didn't happen, or you weren't conscious of it when it happened. The concept of the past and the future is just kind of a thought, so that you cannot really say anything about it. And I kind of feel, as another meditative insight, which is a very fundamental meditative insight, that only the now exists, only right now. This is the only thing that's real. Past and future are actually just in our mind. Like, you might get this too, because I said your conscious experience is, my assumption, is the same as mine in nature. So if you pay attention, you're going to get the same thing as me. So like, the only time when two people are going to pay attention to the exact same thing and meditatively, like something fundamental about consciousness, for example, the fact that it's continuous, there's no such thing as a nothingness gap, as a gap of nothingness. The thing is that if two people pay attention to the same thing, for example, pay attention to how thought works, and they paying attention means meditating, basically. Meditating means just paying attention to something that's real, and very simplified, but if they pay attention to the same thing, they observe the same thing. And if they didn't observe the same thing, about fundamental thing about conscious experience, that means there a miscommunication has happened. They're talking about two different things by accident. So you should get the same thing as me if you really understood what I'm saying. You should realize that your consciousness experience that has never ever had any nothingness in it, whatever that means. And that wouldn't even make sense, to be honest. Like, what is nothingness? Like, we always define it relative to something. There's no nothingness relative to nothing. There's no absolute nothingness. It's always relative to something. Like I gave the water bottle example, right? So what does this mean? It means that whether you're an atheist, whether you're religious, whether you're fucking, I don't know, Scientologist, whatever is your belief system, empirically, it is already observable in your conscious experience that it's continuous. So that means that after you die, something continues. Nothing stops, you know? I don't know what happens to your memory. I don't know what you see. I don't know what you remember after you die. But certainly something happens. There's no such thing as nothingness. It just doesn't exist. It's not empirically true. You've never seen nothingness in your life, right? And I used to be a theist until I kind of did this paradigm shift that, like, basically I did this paradigm shift about my beliefs with the purpose of having the beliefs that generate the most positivity and the most happiness in me. And one of them is like, wait a second, what is God? God seems to be something we completely invented. I don't actually see a God in anything right now. Maybe I'm going to discover my own conception of God, but God seems to be just kind of a very nuanced, not just very, extremely nuanced concept that is very vague and just, I've never seen it. Have you ever looked out of your window and been like, man, God is watching. Is he still watching? Yo, God, can you come here a little bit? I just lost my girlfriend. Can you help me, God? And God is like, 1 second, just go and drink a coffee and I will come talk to you afterwards. Okay, God, just after I drink the coffee, just please tell me what to do because I'm very depressed and I kind of want to kill myself, okay? All right. You've never had that, did you? You never, like, talk to God. When you pray, what do you hear? Nothing. Like, there's no such thing as God, and that's actually, like, it's not a bad thing. Like, it's not like, I didn't exactly say that God doesn't exist. Like, but I think, like, the concept of God is so vague that nobody even knows what it means. Maybe there's, like, a source, like, of like, I don't know, the Master Key system talks about this cosmic intelligence, and, like, here's what I make of it. Like, I told you that, basically, empirically speaking, if all of us observe our conscious experience, we can clearly tell that it doesn't end or begin. There's no ending, there's no beginning to consciousness. It's a continuous now that just always was and always is. There was never no now. There will never be an end to consciousness. This implicitly means that afterlife exists, whatever it is. So whether you're atheist, whether you're religious, whatever you are, I think the question of whether afterlife exists or not is just benign. It's just asinine. It's just like, just pay attention. Like, what are you actually talking about? There's no such thing as there not being an afterlife because it doesn't make. Okay, next video. All right, my alarm. I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick and just start the recording.